Let's give this a shot. As the manticores are still circling around, trying to get me confused, I take advantage of the short respite the enemy has granted me to quickly test several flow patterns that I've noticed in the past. Through my very years of studying magical theory, once I find the motion that seemed to work, I visualize all the magical particles in my head, guide them on their path while I play around with different levels of magical intensity until the flow reacts positively to my aura. The first spell that I cast is the one temporarily enhances my sight and focus, similar to the observation stat from my stat device, which I am not carrying with me in the immaterial plane. As soon as my power is observing increases, I immediately confirm which of the manticores are real, while they are the ones that are deviating from the general trajectory that the majority of the other manticores are following. That's a very good idea actually, because he can't exactly like follow the same way the other manticores are following, because he is a human. He's gonna make slight errors. My greater focus also makes it easier to keep an eye on Peter, who I've been monitoring closely ever since he shapeshifted. Now that I don't need to worry about losing sight of the summoned manticores anymore, finally consider on winning the battle. The question is, should I continue to copy what Brynholm did, or should I do something else? So far Peter has been reproducing the battle perfectly, but there's no guarantee that he'll do it until the end. At a certain point he's bound to deviate from the original fight in some way, or maybe it would be better if I made the first move rather than... Oh, never mind, it's too late for that. Peter's now diving straight at me in his manticore form. Azarius never did anything like that against Brynholm. Is he trying to transform back into his human form, cast a spell at me once he gets closer? No, the shape-shifting process can't be done instantly. It would leave him too vulnerable that he is planning to attack me while he's in his manticore form instead. Something doesn't add up here. This has to be one of the traps again. I can feel it. I think he's trying to goad me into attacking him. Let's see if he'll reveal his cards to me if I play along a little. I get into stance. I pretend that I'm about to cast a short-range paralyzing spell on him. As soon as he gets closer, okay, this should be convincing enough. Come on, Peter, show me what you're... Before I even get to finish my thought, the image of the manticore in front of me disappears, which is replaced by Peter, who has apparently never shapeshifted in the first place, only used illusion magic to make me think that he did it, just as he casts his paralysis spell on his own. I use my air currents to dash away from him and to narrowly avoid his attack. So this is what he had up his sleeve. At least now there shouldn't be any more tricks so I can focus on. Once again my thoughts get interrupted because two manticores suddenly lunge at me from opposite direction. I instinctively dodge both of them, but then 4 of the flying creatures make a dive at me. The other 100 or so of them seem to be preparing to engage me as well. Now I get what this guy was doing. In order to pay attention to all those manticores at once, I needed my focus to remain uninterrupted. Was Peter's surprise attack from earlier was just the thing he needed to break my concentration. Now I'm no longer certain of which manticores are real, and I no longer have the luxury to sit back to calmly analyze the situation. For all intents and purposes, I'm not practically fighting 100 manticores and a generalist all at once. Well played. It looks like I'm going to have to make some serious improvisation if I want to make it out of this alive. Sorry, Brynholm, it's nothing personal, but I'm afraid that your previous performance during this battle is no longer of any use to me. Okay, so I am back after like 2 fucking months of not recording any Magium. I don't quite remember what I was doing, but I think we were fighting along with Overseer and one more character, and the Flame Ice Girl, fucking hell, Flower. We were fighting along Flower and Overseer against the Underground King and his subordinate, and I think we were facing like an illusion manticore attack, and I'm completely forgotten exactly how it was going. I think we were losing, but yeah, so sorry, Brynholm, nothing personal. Yeah, so our Brynholm's techniques, well, our own techniques were not exactly working, so we need to do some improvisation. Let's see how that goes. Just as a manticore are about to reach me, I conjure 2 long water whips from my hand and spin them around very fast, slicing everything around me, including the enemies from above, below, and the illusions are unaffected by this, but all the real manticores get easily turned into mincemeat, and then they keep floating in place because there is no force in this realm to make them fall down. I knew it. I knew that asking Eluna to teach me a spell that affects a large area would be a good idea in AoE. When I looked towards Peter to see what happened to him, I noticed that he is unharmed because he had conjured a large wall of reinforced stone in front of him in the nick of time. I do not give him the opportunity to summon new manticores. I rain down a swarm of water lances on him, forcing him to fly away from his position. Instead of going defensive on the instead of going on the defensive, Peter fights back immediately, creating a huge cloud of poison mist that quickly engulfs us both before I get to move away from it. For a short while, I was hoping that the anti-poison elixir which I drank on the earthen plane might actually work here, but I guess I was being too optimistic. The effects of the poison hit me almost immediately, so as I'm now getting a strong headache and begin to cough up blood. How does that work? You don't even have your physical body. The headache is nowhere near as bad as the one I got from the botched teleportation when I was transported to the underground cavern with Layla, but that's not really saying much. That is still much worse than any hangover I've ever had, and is greatly affecting my concentration. Of all the things that could have gotten the best of me, it just had to be poison. It's a good thing that Illuna isn't here, or I'd never hear the end of it. I waste no time and I blow the poison cloud away with a gust of wind. The harm has already been done, but at least now it won't get any worse than it already is. Now where is Peter hiding? I assumed that he would try to use the mist as cover to take me by surprise, but he is nowhere in sight. Don't tell me that he used the poison cloud just to run away. Only tried this spell on a whim, but I never imagined that it would actually work. I hear Peter's voice, who has apparently turned himself invisible while I wasn't watching. What kind of an idiot goes into a mage battle without having cast any sort of protection against poison attacks? Maybe I've overestimated you after all. What's with the invisibility spell? I tell Peter as I cough up some more blood. Do you think you're Albert or something? You do realize that you're nowhere near as good as him at hiding your aura, don't you? I can easily tell where you are, and I don't even have my stat device here to boost my magical sense. You might be good at memorizing spells, but you don't seem to be very well versed in poisons, Peter says. Let me give you a hint. Time is not on your side right now. The more you wait, the more the effects of the poison will sink in. You will lose all your senses one by one. Your ability to detect auras will likely be the first one you lose, followed by your sense of smell, then your sight. I'm only giving you this warning because of what little respect I still have left for you as a fellow generalist. If you still have any secret techniques that you were saving up until the last moment, then I recommend that you use them all now. Do not disappoint me any further. He's probably just giving he's probably throwing out that information so that we make a reckless move or whatever. Don't let Peter's taunts get to me and wait for him to make his move. Well, wait. I really appreciate all the help you're giving me, Peter, I say as I struggle to appear unaffected by the headache. You were even kind enough to remind me that I still have a secret technique which I haven't used until now. I might have completely forgotten about it if you hadn't mentioned it, so thank you for that. If you still think you can defeat me, then you better do it now, Peter says. Soon you won't be able to tell where I am anymore. Actually, I think I might have a better idea. I say, why don't I hold on to the secret technique for a while longer to keep you on the edge? This strategy seems to have been working wonders so far. Peter does not answer me. I can't see the reaction on his face since he's still invisible, but if I were to guess, I'd say that he's probably pretty pissed right now. The fact that he specifically brought up that idea of me revealing my secret technique made his previous advice seem very suspicious to me. He's clearly trying to bait me here, and if this poison were really meant to get worse over time, he would have tried to stall me instead of telling me to attack him. There really was no reason for him to tell me about all of this unless his poison is only temporary and he never bothered to learn any poison spells with long-lasting effects. Yeah, that has to be it. Now that I'm paying some more attention to my headache and nausea, it does kind of feel like it's getting better, even though the improvement is subtle. Let's see if I can buy a little more time by taking advantage of his unfound cautiousness around me. By the gods, you were telling the truth, I say, as I'm now feigning some fear in my voice. The poison really is getting worse. What have you done to me, you bastard? I warned you this would happen, Peter says in a slightly hesitant voice. You really think I was bluffing? Now hurry up and use your spells before... What did you do to your aura? I shot all of a sudden. Reveal yourself, you coward. I thought you wanted to have a fair fight. What are you talking about, you lunatic? Peter says. The poison couldn't have possibly affected you this badly in such a short amount of time. In fact, by now you should already be... He pauses for a second as he slowly realizes what I've been doing. You figured it out, didn't you? He asks me. You were just buying time so that the effect of the poison would wear off. Indeed, I say as my headache and nausea have almost completely disappeared. Now that I'm feeling well, we can continue to duel fair and square like the two fellow generalists we are, don't you agree? Shortly after I finish my sentence, I begin to feel one of the most eerie and hard to describe sensations that I've ever experienced in my life. The feeling that I'm getting is as if my consciousness is repeatedly thrust through a tunnel back and forth, and it can't seem to decide at which end of the tunnel its destination is. As this is happening, I'm finding myself for 1 second lying face first in a puddle on the street during a storm. For the next second, I'm back here on the ethereal plane, floating in the middle of the sea of light.